Today I'm giving you my unfiltered feedback and opinions on 12 designer fragrances and evaluating whether or not they're worth purchasing. These are fragrances that have launched rather recently and they're all feminine leaning and they have been hyped up to varying degrees, but I was curious about trying them. I was curious about whether or not they're actually worth it, and not gonna lie, a lot of these fragrances did surprise me. We have some duds and we also have some fragrances that I think are really good options for you to try. If this is your first time on this channel, hello, my name is Anya. I love fragrances. I talk about them here 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. I also publish additional content on TikTok and Instagram under the username ANECHKAFRAGRANCES. If you're interested in fragrance history, I also run a podcast called The Fragrance Report. On that podcast, I talk primarily about fragrance history, but I also love injecting things like my favorites, trend predictions, things like that. I have a new episode published every Wednesday on Spotify, and I also publish those episodes here on YouTube as well. So here's the thing, I actually don't own any of these fragrances. I did go to Sephora twice, and I tested each one of these fragrances as extensively as I could. So this will be a first impression. Take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt, but I did ask you guys, because I think some of you were asking if I could test some of the new designer fragrances. I did ask if it would be okay for me to go into stores and give you my first impressions, and a lot of you said you'd be okay with that. So while this is not going to be an in-depth review with me holding the bottle in front of me, I did go to the stores twice and I tested these fragrances. I have my notes. I'm going to be sharing with you my opinions. Keep in mind, these are my first impressions. These are not dedicated reviews or in-depth reviews, or as much in-depth as it would be if I literally had the bottle and I tested it over several days, but these are more like detailed first impressions / initial reviews. I hope that makes sense, and I hope this will be useful to you, so let's get into it. So the first fragrance that I tested, and I was actually really excited about this one, was L'Imperatrice Royale by Dolce & Gabbana. This is a fragrance that I love the original for. This actually is a flanker, so I am obsessed with the original L'Imperatrice. It's an eau de toilette. Both of these fragrances are actually eau de toilettes, and that's a fragrance that I've worn and loved for years. I love it so much. I bought myself a backup, and I don't often do that with fragrances, but this is a fragrance I consider an essential in my collection. It's a classic favorite. I love it so much. I know it very well. This is a more intense version, and it also features some diversity when it comes to the notes. So we have top notes of cranberry, a mid of azalea, and then a base of Virginia cedar. So I'm going to give you my comparison of the two fragrances. I do think that in this particular case, the cranberry acts as the rhubarb acts in the original L'Imperatrice. For those of you who are familiar with the original L'Imperatrice, that fragrance is a fragrance that's very fresh, ozonic. It's a perfume with a really bright and juicy rhubarb, and that adds a tart aspect that's a very classic signature to the L'Imperatrice line. If you have smelled the fragrance, you will likely be able to identify it in this new perfume as well. So it has that signature sour note, but in this case, that sour, that tartness is mimicked or reflected with the addition of the cranberry. So it literally smells like a fresh cranberry, not a dry cranberry, a fresh, juicy cranberry. That's how you get the tartness. It's more of like a full-bodied fruity floral, whereas the original was a fruity ozonic fragrance. So once you smell the two, they're actually quite similar because they both play with like that tart aspect, but they're executed differently. Which one do I prefer? Well, in this particular case, I love the original. I think both are great. I would wear both personally, but I will say that my favorite still is the original. I just have a lot of sentimental attachment to that perfume. It'll always be a favorite for me. It'll always bring back memories. So that's my favorite. But I really like the new one as well. So if you're looking for something more full-bodied, the new one is really good. It's, like I said, more of a fruity floral, whereas the original was more of a fruity ozonic fragrance. And the new one is definitely a little bit more intense, but they both are clearly similar fragrances. So next, that was a positive perfume, by the way. I did like that one. Next, we have Golden Rule by Phlur. Now, this is one that I tested several times. I think I might have tried it probably 3 to 4 times in total. I tend to go to Sephora rather often, and I like to smell different fragrances. I like to experiment with what's new. I always like to smell fragrances, smell new fragrances whenever I can. So Golden Rule really intrigued me by Phlur, because Phlur is known for creating rather clean smelling perfumes. So all their fragrances end up smelling kind of like they have like a signature musk in a lot of their fragrances that like ends up smelling like very clean, like clean girl aesthetic. A lot of people love Phlur because of that signature. A lot of people probably don't. I'm kind of in between. I don't own, well, actually, no, I do own Vanilla Skin by Phlur. That's a body mist. I really do like that one. But I don't, like, I'm not like a super fan of Phlur. Like, I think they're okay, but this one is definitely one of my favorites from the line. So this comes in that signature gold bottle. I'm, of course, going to do the scent breakdown for you, but I'm first going to tell you what my notes say. So what I said is this smells like an ambery Middle Eastern floral. The fragrance opens sparkly and fruity, but settles into a floral jasmine and orange blossom, similar to the Indolic floral in Alien by Mugler, but far more approachable. So let's look at the notes. And I will say that if you have previously written off Phlur for, you know, not being a fragrance that has a lot of depth, and you like to have a fragrance that has a lot of depth, a lot of like rich ambery accords, this is still one to try. I would say this is definitely a departure from what they've done previously. So we have top notes of pear, mandarin, and pink pepper, a mid of orange flower water, jasmine, coconut milk, and then a base of vanilla, benzoin, and sandalwood. This is ultimately a great scent if you are looking for something that, again, is a celebration of those florals. This isn't so sweet. It's actually like right in between. It definitely is kind of like an indolic floral, especially as it dries down. I get that burst of pink pepper, that mandarin at the beginning, and then it settles. The opening is my favorite part, not gonna lie, but the dry down is really beautiful as well. So if you are someone who, for instance, wants a jasmine fragrance, but you looked at Alien, you're like, okay, this is nice, but it's far too intense, and that's the case for a lot of people. A lot of people don't like Alien. I happen to love Alien. But if you are someone who smelled Alien, you're like, this is way too intense, I do not like it, try Golden Rule by Phlur, because it might be a better fragrance for you, because it essentially takes that indolic floral, but it makes it far more palatable for a wider scope of people, in my opinion. I think it's a good fragrance. I liked it. Do I need it? No. I mean, strictly speaking, I don't really need any of these fragrances. I only buy designer fragrances once I fall in love with them, because designer fragrances are a dime a dozen. They're easily accessible, easily available. I don't need to add to my collection mindlessly. So I'm very interested in designer fragrances, but I'm also very specific with the ones I add to my collection, but the ones I do add end up being long-term favorites. So I'll say the designers I have in my collection are fragrances that, you know, I've worn countless times. I've made significant dents in, because if I buy a fragrance from the designer category, I truly love it. Okay, I've only talked about like 2 perfumes, and already this video is getting so long. So anyway, we have Clementine Dream from 7 Virtues, and I think I actually kind of I wouldn't say I dissed this fragrance, but I wasn't necessarily like so excited about it when I first talked about this. All these fragrances, by the way, I've spoken about them in videos. I've particularly referenced them in my Smash or Pass fragrance news video, which, if you don't know, is a weekly series where every Monday I talk about what's new. And a lot of these, in fact, all of these fragrances have been featured in that video. So if you're interested in fragrance news from any fragrance category, be sure to watch that video, or be sure to check out that series. It's very interesting. But Clementine Dream from 7 Virtues. I think I said in that video that it might be a nice fragrance to look for if you're interested in a citrusy perfume, but me personally, I don't need another citrusy fragrance, so it would be a pass. I still think it's not something I need, but I really liked it. So this has, here are my notes. It smells fantastic, very focused on the citrus rind, slight vanilla, but more citrus, a very good option for a summer citrus. So we have top notes of clementine and black currant, a mid of magnolia, and then a base of vanilla. So you know that trend that involves basically like citrus and then vanilla. So it kind of smells like a citrus tart. This doesn't play into that, which I like, because that's already been played so often. Like we already have so many fragrances like that. This has a light touch of vanilla, just a light touch of it, nothing extreme, but it really is a celebration of the citrus, of the clementine, but particularly the rind. I smelled the rind. It was so photorealistic. That's the part that I smelled the most. It was very prominent. In the dry down, there was possibly a hint of vanilla, but nothing that would deviate too much from the citruses. So this is definitely a citrus dominant fragrance. I did not get the floral as much. I guess it's more of an accent. This is a celebration of the citrus peel note, and it's often difficult, by the way, to do a fragrance that smells like citrus so heavily but doesn't smell like cleaning product. And in this case, they did it. So I really like it. I think it's a good option. Let's move on to the next one, because I have some fragrances that I actually did not like, and this is another one. So, Love Notes Pink Woods. This is a fragrance by Ariana Grande. You may remember she came out with, I think, 4 fragrances, Love Notes fragrances, and they were exclusives to different countries. So I think North America has an exclusive, Asia has an exclusive, Europe has one, and Australia has one. This one has been around for quite some time, so it's not super new, but I've smelled it a few times, and I always didn't like it, but today I decided to be a little bit more detailed with why I didn't like it. I said, it smells like air freshener. It's nice, perfumey, but too screechy in the opening. Not a fan. So, let's look at the notes. Because I read the notes, I was like, I don't get any of this. So we have bergamot and lotus at the top, a mid of tea, vetiver, and jasmine, and then a base of cashmere, wood, cotton candy, and tonka. I did not get any of this. I think the opening is very screechy. It smells like air freshener. It literally does. I get why people might like it, because it smells okay. If you are okay with an air freshener scent, it doesn't smell bad, but not everyone wants a perfume that smells like air freshener. And the way that they did the bergamot here overpowers the entire fragrance, and it's too cleaning product smelling, which is not a bad scent. Objectively, it's not a bad scent, but I don't want to smell like that. And tea note, I don't get it. Where is it? I don't smell it. Vetiver, again, where is it? I don't smell it. Cotton candy, maybe. But I definitely don't smell the cotton candy. I just smell sweetness, and not a fan. Not a fan at all. Maybe the other ones are better. I haven't tried the other ones. This one, though, not a fan. I also tried Cloud Pink because I was curious and I hadn't tried it before. This one has been around for quite some time, so it's not necessarily super new, but I'm like super behind in some of these celebrity fragrances. So this one is a fragrance with top notes of pitahaya, which I guess is dragon fruit, wild berries, and pineapple, a mid of coconut water, vanilla orchid, and ambrette, and then a base of praline, musk, amberwood, and moss. I said in my notes that it just smells like air freshener, because I don't understand why I can have all these notes and smell like none of them. I do not get it. It's uncanny to me. I don't understand. Again, this might work for some people. For me, it's not a fragrance I like at all. And I think it just goes to show that sometimes we have fragrances that we really enjoy, sometimes we have a signature that we really enjoy, but that's not going to happen all the time. And in this case, this is a prime example of that not occurring. I don't like these fragrances at all, and I would not recommend them. It's so funny because I have my notes in the fragrances I tried chronologically, and I tried so many bad ones back to back. This next one is also bad. It's by Dolce & Gabbana. I might love it, L'Imperatrice. I did not like this fragrance at all. Devotion Intense smells putrid in the opening. It settles into the lemony sweet florals, much better in the dry down. I don't get the hazelnut. So this perfume was so intensely confusing. I remember smelling it initially, because when I do these kinds of first impressions / reviews, I call them first impressions simply because I don't have the bottle in front of me, so I feel weird calling it a review when really it could be a review, because I try these fragrances several times. And I've tried this fragrance several times, and each time I was so confused about what I was getting, because I was like, this can't possibly be what it's meant to smell like. And I know a lot of people get it, and I know a lot of people don't get it because I've read the Fragrantica reviews. So essentially, actually, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you the notes or what it's supposed to smell like. So this has a top note of hazelnut, a mid of orange blossom, and then a base of vanilla. Sounds perfectly fine and safe, right? When really, it's not. Like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. So like in the opening, it smells rancid. Like that's all I can say. Maybe it's the hazelnut that just, I don't know. I don't know. I've never smelled a hazelnut like that. Like it's hard to describe. It just smells rancid. And then in the dry down, that's when you get, I think, what they're going for, which is like that lemony kind of Lyra-esque, but not really vanilla lemony dessert. I get that in the dry down. I do not get that in the opening. The opening smells bad. It just does. It just does. It smells bad. Like how this fragrance like went through quality control is beyond me. Like, is that what they do? I don't know. It's genuinely terrible. Some people don't get that. Some people get like that very like soft, like rich, vanilla, lemony cake thing. I don't get it. And it's not just one bottle, or it's not just one tester that's bad, by the way. I went to several locations, and this has happened with several bottles of Devotion Intense, and I do not understand what happened with it. Like, it smells bad. Next, okay, so Gucci Guilty Love. This one I was curious about. So in the opening, I got this clean smelling musk. There was a slight floral touch to it, but it was pretty nondescript. So that's why I kind of didn't really have like any kind of reaction to it whatsoever. I liked it, but it wasn't too unusual. But then the dry down happened, and then the fragrance kind of opened up more. And by the way, with these, like, when I smell these fragrances, I like to smell them blind first. So I like to kind of get my initial impression of what the fragrance smells like and then look up the notes. I don't like to kind of try to look up the notes and then just say what I'm smelling. Like, I like to see, okay, what are my initial impressions and what could this have possibly been? So when I first smelled this fragrance, I smelled the musk, and then I got the florals kind of more and more. And I will say lilac is a pretty rare note in designer perfumery. I don't think I've ever smelled a lilac fragrance in the designer fragrance space. I'm sure there have been lilac fragrances in the past, but it's definitely not very common. But the smell of lilacs is very unmistakable. It's really beautiful. It's kind of like a violet, but a little bit more honeyed. It's beautiful. So if you're looking for a nice, approachable, musky lilac scent, this is really good. Especially if you're, for example, new to perfumery and you're curious to see what lilacs smell like, this is a really good case study for it, in my opinion. But me personally, I actually do have a fragrance that has the lilac note that I prefer much more to this one, and that's just personal preference, and I already have it in my collection, so why not? But that's Love at First Sight by Une Nuit Nomade. That is a stunning lilac fragrance with more complexity to it. It has passion fruit as well, which just is stunning. It's such a beautiful fragrance. The sillage in it is extraordinary. It is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Full stop. It's so good. And the pricing is similar to the Gucci one because Une Nuit Nomade's pricing is actually pretty comparable to most designer fragrance options. So definitely recommend checking it out. They also do have their discovery set, and I do have an affiliate relationship with the brand. So I do have codes affiliated with them. So, you can definitely check them out in the description box if you're interested in finding out some more information. But overall, a pretty good option, but nothing that I need personally in my collection. But I like it. I think it's nice. Moving on to Black Opium Glitter. So I smelled this and I liked it, and I needed to smell it again because I was kind of like, I needed to digest it because there was a lot going on there. But this is Black Opium Glitter. So essentially, this is from YSL. It's one of the 5 million Black Opium flankers. Essentially, this adheres to the marshmallow orange blossom trend. So it has marshmallow, it has orange blossom, but it does have less fruitiness than some other iterations of this trend, and I think it's more focused on that pear. So here's my review. I get the pear, especially in the dry down. One of the better options for marshmallow orange blossom that I have smelled. It's nice if you want this but not screechy. So what I'm trying to say with this is that it's nice if you want to adhere to this trend, but you don't want anything that's like too much of a screechy orange blossom, because other fragrances that have notes similar to this often do have like a slightly screechy orange blossom note, and I don't love that. But this is not screechy, it's very soft, which is nice. Pear increases in visibility in the dry down. So let's look at the rest of the notes. I'm like on my phone so much in this video. This has green mandarin, pear, and lemon at the top, a mid of orange blossom, and then a base of vanilla, coffee, marshmallow, musk, and patchouli. At this point, the coffee is just a joke. I did not get the coffee. I got none of the coffee. There's no coffee that I can smell. If you smell it, your nose is far more refined than mine, but I don't get it. It's a perfume that's kind of trying to be Oriana by Parfums de Marly. It's probably, in my mind, a better version of the orange blossom. But also, okay, I have a niche recommendation that I like more, and that is Sora Dora's Mallow. I much prefer Mallow to any of the fragrances in this trend, including Black Opium, Glitter. But if you're looking for something more affordable, then Sora Dora Black Opium Glitter is a good option. But the Sora Dora one I like more because it's has more fruity nuances. It's way more complex. This one is really nice for the price, and it's also going to be the best. I would say it's the second best option to the Sora Dora one. And I'm not saying that because I'm affiliated with Sora Dora. I just am super picky when it comes to this trend, because not a lot of brands do it right, in my opinion. Because like for example, Ensemble Gold by Lattafa, that is also an orange blossom marshmallow combination, and it's headache inducing for me. Like, I don't like it. This one actually does it well, in my opinion. So next is a new limited edition release by Jo Malone. This is a cologne, so it's Thaif Rose, and I was kind of curious about this one. This is, in my mind, a candied rose. I said it's not my favorite rose, but if you specifically like potpourri smelling roses, it could be nice. I don't get the coffee. So let's see, what are the notes? So this has, theoretically, notes of damask rose, amber, and coffee. Like I said, I don't get the coffee. I got kind of like a, as I stated, potpourri smelling rose. I would say that's more of like a jammy rose, but not like super jammy, kind of potpourri adjacent. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, that smells terrible. It doesn't. It just smells like a potpourri rose, which if you like that kind of thing, this could be a fragrance for you. Personally, that's not the kind of rose that I love, so it's going to be pass. But if you like it, I'm not dissuading you from trying it out. So these next fragrances were perfumes that previously I have written off, but I was trying to be as detailed as possible because, I don't know, I find that when it comes to reviewing fragrances mean different things for different people. And just because I don't like a line, or just because I don't buy a fragrance line, doesn't necessarily mean that they smell bad or that they don't deserve attention. I'll give you an example. We're going to be talking about Marc Jacobs. I don't own anything from Marc Jacobs. I don't want to own anything from Marc Jacobs because their fragrances are not my style. But I was meeting an acquaintance the other day. I gave her a hug. She smelled great. I asked her, you smell amazing. What are you wearing? And she said, Marc Jacobs. That is just one example of me smelling Marc Jacobs on other people and really liking it. There's something nostalgic. There's something that smells, beautiful about a Marc Jacobs fragrance on someone who appreciates it and someone who wears it as a signature scent, because there is something like very quintessential clean girl smelling about that musk that Marc Jacobs uses in their fragrances. It's straightforward, it's simple, it's kind of fresh. It might smell like cleaning product to some people, but I like it on other people. I just don't like it on myself because my tastes do not align with it. But objectively, I wouldn't say it smells bad. I would say it's not a fragrance that I wear because I like to wear other things, but I'm not going to dissuade you from getting a Marc Jacobs fragrance. That being said, I was curious about the Glow line, so I decided to review all the Glow fragrances, and they kind of ended up smelling kind of similar, but I also wanted to do my very best to break them down for you. So we have Daisy Glow, Daisy Oh So Fresh Glow, and then Daisy Love Glow. So let's break my descriptions down of each. So, okay, here are my first impressions of Daisy Glow. And also keep in mind, one of the prominent notes throughout this collection was violet, and I did get that throughout this line. So this is a fruity, floral, airy. I like it. like, not love. But this is a realistic strawberry with violet. Clean, musky, opens up beautifully on the skin. That's where I really got the violet. That's where I got the more detail with the strawberry. It smells like a freshly picked strawberry. It doesn't smell like strawberry flavoring. It smells like a very natural smelling strawberry. Then moving on to Daisy Oh So Fresh Glow. This is, again, aldehydic, musky. It's a violet raspberry combo that's quite pleasant, smooth, powdery. There's a slight mimosa to it. And then Daisy Love Glow is fruity, fresh, slight orange blossom. If any of this sounds good to you, I would definitely recommend going to the store and just trying all the fragrances. Try them on skin as well, because they can kind of be hard to pick up on the blotter. Try them on skin, see which one you like, and then just go ahead and get that one. They're not so different, but they are also different. They're not the same fragrance, even though they have similarities. So let's go into the notes individually. So we have the notes for Daisy Glow. This is a fragrance with strawberry at the top, a mid of violet and marigold, and then a base of vanilla and blonde woods. Daisy Oh So Fresh Glow is grapefruit and pear at the top, a mid of violet and raspberry, and then a base of cedarwood, musk, and mimosa. I actually like this one the most. Finally, Daisy Love Glow is a perfume with bergamot at the top, a mid of lemon blossom, and then a base of musk and cashmere wood. This probably smells most like cleaning product compared to the other ones, but overall, a decent collection. I don't love them. I like them. They don't smell bad. Some of the other fragrances in this video, in my opinion, kind of did smell bad. I'm talking mainly about Devotion Intense. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Yeah, because I know I'm not the only one that thinks it smells bad. Absolutely not. So yeah, anyway, there is one more that I want to talk about. Very Good Girl Elixir by Carolina Herrera. I smelled it once and I was like, this is nice. I came back home, I was looking online because I wanted to see what other people were saying about it. I saw one creator, I'm not going to say who, they said this smells like guidance. In what world? So here's what I said in my notes. I said lightly dusted cocoa with cherry. This is actually the most prominent rendition of cocoa that I've smelled in the Good Girl lineup so far, in my opinion. I said it was powdery. The rose opens up more slightly in the dry down. It opens up, but it's not overt. And then I said, who TF says this smells like guidance? Because someone literally said that. Someone said it smelled like guidance, but with cherry. I'm not going to say who it is. I think they need to get their nose checked. I think they need to get their nose checked, and also whoever decided to put out Devotion Intense with that opening needs to get their nose checked as well. So yeah. I mean, actually, okay, let me pull up the notes. It smells nice. I actually do like it. It's one of my favorite Very Good Girls, or it's one of my favorite Good Girls. It's nice. I'm not going to go out of my way to buy it because it's another cherry fragrance. Do I need that? Absolutely not. So, yeah, let's see. This has notes. This actually came out last year. I'm a little bit late to the game with this one. But this has notes of black cherry, bitter almond at the top, a mid of rose and tuberose, and then a base of vanilla and cocoa. It's nice. I like it. I don't love it. Yeah, if you like cherry, if you're one of probably the 2 people left on the planet that likes fragrances that doesn't have a cherry fragrance, this might be one for you to try. So you can, be part of the cherry club. We all have so many cherry fragrances. But yeah, no, seriously. It's nice. I don't love it. I'm just confused about how that creator said it smells like guidance. I'm sorry. I know I'm harping on it. I don't get it. Maybe I should smell it again. I don't know. I've already smelled it several times, but that's my opinion. Anyway, those are all the fragrances that I have to talk to you. I had 13. I called it 12 because there are 12 new ones. The 13th one, which was the Ariana Grande, the pink one, not Pink Woods, the other one. And that's not new, but I still wanted to talk about it because I haven't talked about it before on this channel. Anyway, that's it for this video. I am going to try and make a trip to Ulta to smell those as well. But let me know, what did you think of my quickfire reviews? Let's call these reviews. What do you think of my reviews on these? What were your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you motivated to try any of these fragrances? Let me know what you think. But thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and I'll see you next time. Bye.